was 2:03 a.m. when the phone rang in a motel that had been empty for hours. I had been driving west on Route 70 for what felt like forever, the desert stretching around me like an endless black ocean. My truck, old but reliable, rattled over cracks in the asphalt, the hum of the engine filling the silence. The sun had set hours ago, leaving only the cold of the desert night and the occasional shimmer of distant heat lingering in the asphalt's memory. My plan was simple: reach the next town, check into a roadside motel, sleep, and leave before sunrise. The motel appeared suddenly, like it had been waiting. The sign flickered, one letter dead. Vacancy, it read dimly. The lot was empty, not a single car in sight. Not even the faint hum of a running air conditioner or the soft buzz of an old neon sign. Just cracked asphalt and scattered tumbleweeds that I pulled in and parked. My boots crunched on gravel as I walked to the lobby. The building was old. Paint peeled from the walls, the fluorescent light above the door buzzing in uneven bursts. I noticed the lobby smelled strange. Dust and old carpet, yes, but something else too. Faint and metallic, just barely there. Something wrong. I picked up the phone behind the desk, but it was dead. Nothing. Then it rang. Sharp, insistent. I nearly dropped it. My hands shook as I brought the receiver to my ear. Hello. Static first, then a voice. Calm, precise, human, but with a tone I couldn't place. Room's ready. I froze. I didn't book a room. Click. Deadline. I looked around. The lobby was empty. Behind the counter, the drawer was slightly open. Papers stacked neatly inside. No signs of anyone. No clerk. No keys jingling. Nothing. Rational thought tried to take over. Maybe a worker had left it automated. Maybe it was some old system still connected to a voicemail line. It made no sense, but my curiosity overrode my unease. I followed the faint flicker of a hallway light to room 7. The door was unlocked. Light flickered inside, a weak bulb casting shadows across the room. The bed was stripped, dust thick across the floor, except for a narrow path wiped clean. Like someone had been moving around recently. I sat on the edge of the bed, tried to convince myself it was just maintenance. My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone, checking the reception. Nothing. No signal, just black. Then the room's phone rang. I didn't touch it at first. Just listened. Click. A voice again. Calm. Patient. Did you check in? I stammered. I just got here. No one's here. I don't know. Click. Silence. The air in the room thickened. Shadows seemed to gather in corners. I stepped to the window, but the desert outside was empty. No cars, no movement, no signs of life. Then I noticed footprints in the dust near the door. Adult size, careful, leading from the hallway into the room. But when I checked the hall, it was empty. Clean dust, unbroken. I was alone. I backed away slowly, heart hammering. Each shadow seemed to stretch unnaturally. The bulb flickered more violently, throwing strange shapes across the walls. I decided to leave. As I stepped toward the door, a soft knock came from the front desk. Not loud, deliberate, just enough to make me flinch. I froze. My instincts screamed to run. I glanced at the hallway leading out. Nothing. No movement. I grabbed my jacket, tried to run, and the floorboards creaked as if the building itself was aware of my presence. The front desk was gone when I looked back. Only dust and papers remained. The lobby sign behind the counter now read, empty. Closed. I ran to my truck, fumbling with keys. The engine started immediately. I didn't look back. The road stretched ahead, black and endless. The desert seemed darker than before. I checked my rearview mirror. The motel sign flickered one last time. I swear the lights formed letters that weren't there before. Welcome back. I didn't stop again. Even weeks later, when I pass abandoned motels on late-night drives, I see faint yellow glows from the windows. I check the doors, the halls. Nothing. Always nothing. But sometimes my phone rings. No number. No display. Just the same calm voice. Room's ready. I've tried to rationalize it. Motel maintenance workers. A prank. A glitch in my mind. None of it fits. None of it explains the footprints, the lights, or the voice. And sometimes, just sometimes, when I close my eyes at night, I can feel a presence hovering at the edge of my bed, patient, watching, waiting for me to check in. It was 3:42 a.m. when the sound began. A soft, deliberate shuffle from the hallway outside the pediatric wing. I'd been working night security at St. Caldwell General Hospital for 3 years, mostly covering empty corridors and sleeping staff offices. Nights were long, lonely, and repetitive. Machines hummed, fluorescent lights buzzed, and the occasional ambulance siren pierced the otherwise suffocating quiet. I had a routine: rounds every 30 minutes, check cameras, radio updates, make sure doors stayed locked. Most nights, I finished my rounds, made a cup of coffee, and waited for sunrise. But that night, the hospital felt wrong. I had just left the ICU on level 2 and was heading toward the stairwell to check level 3, the floor housing the pediatric wing. The doors there had been locked for over 6 months after a partial renovation left the wing sealed off. No patients, no staff, just an empty shell of corridors and rooms slowly being reclaimed by dust. As I walked down the quiet hall, I heard it. The shuffle. Slow, steady, calculated. Not the rattle of carts, not the squeak of a rat, not the wind. This sounded like deliberate steps on tile. I froze. My flashlight illuminated a small stretch of the hall, flickering across peeling paint and dust-covered walls. I checked my monitor. Cameras showed the wing doors locked. No movement. Nothing. I radioed dispatch. 3rd floor, pediatric wing. I think there's someone there. Static. I repeated myself. Level 3, pediatric wing. Movement outside locked doors. Another pause. Then, all clear on level 3. Nothing unusual. I swallowed hard. My hand tightened around my flashlight. I knew the cameras had a blind spot right outside the locked wing. That was where the sound was coming from. I approached the doors slowly. Each step echoed unnaturally loud in the empty corridor. The doors were steel, with authorized personnel only painted in faded red letters. Nothing was broken. Nothing was open. And yet, the shuffling continued. I tried the handle. Locked. The sound stopped. I held my breath. Waited. Then, very softly, I heard a tap. Just one. From the stairwell behind me. I spun. Flashlight sweeping the corridor. Nothing. Empty. Shadows cast by flickering overhead lights danced along the walls. I radioed again. Static. Nothing. I stepped back, hesitating. My pulse raced. Logic told me it was probably a maintenance worker, or perhaps rats in the walls. Fatigue played tricks. That's what I told myself. But then it began again. Footsteps, soft, deliberate pacing just out of sight. Back and forth, back and forth. Each step slow, steady, like someone testing their rhythm. Waiting. I checked my radio one more time. No response. The line was dead. The hospital was quiet. Too quiet. No machines, no distant conversations, no shuffling carts. Just the sound behind me. Patient. Watching. I wanted to leave. I should have left. But instinct told me to check the doors anyway. When I reached the pediatric wing, I noticed something. Dust on the floor outside the doors, previously undisturbed, was slightly shifted. Faint footprints, adult size, careful, leading toward the door. No one had entered the hall. No one. I froze. A low groan echoed from inside the wing. Not metallic, not structural. Human. Quiet. Intentional. I stepped back, hand on the flashlight, body tense. My mind raced, trying to rationalize. Maybe the locks were failing. Maybe someone had entered the wing earlier, maintenance or an employee. But the wing had been sealed for months. Nothing should have been inside. The groan repeated. Low, deliberate. Waiting. I radioed dispatch again. I don't know. There's someone inside the pediatric wing. I think. Static. Deadline. I glanced down the hall. Shadows pooled in impossible ways. Light flickered. Every corner seemed to stretch, walls bending subtly as if the hallway itself were alive. Then I heard it, the slow, rhythmic tapping again. From inside the wing this time. Step, step, step. I stepped back. The tapping grew louder, not in volume, but in clarity. Each step precise, controlled, deliberate. Someone pacing, waiting for me. I wanted to run. Every part of me screamed to flee. But the stairwell behind me, my normal exit, was now impossibly long. It stretched farther than it had a moment ago. Each step sounded wrong, echoed too far, too deep. I stayed in the corridor, flashlight shaking in my hand, heart hammering. Minutes passed, or hours. Time became meaningless. Then silence. I dared to look at the doors again. Locked. Nothing visible. Dust undisturbed. And yet, the footprints remained outside. They hadn't been there before. I left my post and went to the main lobby. The night shift nurse on duty asked if I was okay. I told her I'd heard something on level 3, probably just pipes or air ducts. She nodded. Nothing unusual had been reported. The next night, I checked the logs. Doors to the pediatric wing opened. No forced entry. No alarms. Just unlocked. No one admitted to entering. I requested transfers immediately, citing safety concerns. My supervisors laughed it off. Old building noises. Rats, pipes, dust shifts. You're working nights. You're overreacting. But I knew what I had heard. I knew the slow, deliberate footsteps, the patient pacing, the oppressive presence that didn't belong in a locked, empty wing. Sometimes, when I drive past St. Caldwell General at night, I think I see shadows moving in the pediatric wing windows. I hear whispers of footsteps, soft and deliberate, just out of sight. And I know no matter how far I move or how often I change shifts, that sound, patient, waiting, and deliberate, still exists in the locked corridors, waiting for the next night security officer to hear it. It was 11:57 p.m. when my handheld security monitor blinked. Motion detected in Warehouse 12. A building that had been abandoned for over 6 years. I worked nights at the Ridgeway Industrial Complex, a sprawling area of empty factories and warehouses on the outskirts of the city. Most of the buildings have been vacant for years, slowly falling apart as wind, sun, and neglect take their toll. My job is simple: patrol the property, check cameras, report any activity. It's usually uneventful. Most nights are filled with silence, interrupted only by the occasional stray animal triggering a motion sensor or the distant wail of a train. That night, I had been driving around the perimeter for almost an hour, flashlight and radio ready. The wind carried a faint metallic tang, the smell of rust and decay lingering in the air. It was unusually still, no insects, no birds, nothing. Just the quiet hum of the distant city. Then the camera in Warehouse 12 started flickering. Motion detected. I swore under my breath. That building had been empty for years. I checked the feed. Empty. Nothing moved. I radioed my supervisor. Warehouse 12. Motion detected. Could be a stray animal? Maybe maintenance. Pause. Static. There shouldn't be anyone there. Confirm before investigating. I grabbed my flashlight and walked toward the building. Gravel crunched under my boots. Glass shards scattered across the cracked asphalt, reflecting faint moonlight. My flashlight cut a narrow beam through the dark, illuminating rusting siding and broken windows that gaped like black eyes. Normally, I would see this emptiness as mundane decay, but tonight, it felt alive, watching, waiting. The main door was heavy steel, locked, but something felt off. The padlock was slightly ajar, though I remembered checking it earlier. My pulse quickened as I approached the side entrance. Older, smaller doors. One was ajar. My stomach sank. Someone or something had been inside recently. Inside, the warehouse smelled of dust, mold, and the faint chemical residue from decades of industrial activity. Stacks of empty crates created shadows that pooled across the floor, stretching unnaturally with the beam of my flashlight. And then I saw it, a figure, standing near the far wall, motionless, shrouded in darkness. My heart pounded. My first thought was an intruder, maybe a homeless person, maybe a thief, but something felt wrong. The figure didn't look around, didn't move erratically. It just existed patiently, as though expecting me. I froze. The beam of my flashlight wavered. My hand shook. Logic tried to take over. Empty building, probably someone sneaking in for shelter. But my gut told me differently. I called out, "Security! Identify yourself!" No reply, just silence. Then the figure moved, slowly, sideways, like it was circling the shadows, measuring the space between us. My flashlight illuminated only its outline, tall, adult, but impossible to see clearly. Its movement was deliberate, patient, like it was toying with me, giving me just enough time to notice. I reached for my radio. Static. Dead. I backed up, keeping my eyes fixed on the figure. It mirrored my movements, but always maintained distance. Its steps echoed in the cavernous space, too precise, too controlled. The sound bounced off metal walls and concrete floors. Magnified in the emptiness, I ran toward the exit. The main door slammed in front of me. Not from wind, not from any visible force. Slammed. Locked. I circled the warehouse, flashlight sweeping over the cracked concrete floors and rusting beams. The figure mirrored me, always at the edge of the light. It didn't chase. It just waited, patient, calculating, silent. Minutes or hours passed. Time lost meaning. My pulse throbbed in my ears. My flashlight flickered, casting grotesque shadows. I dared not blink for fear the figure would vanish or move closer. Then I noticed footprints. Not mine. Adult-sized, deliberate, perfectly spaced. Leading deeper into the warehouse. From where? I hadn't seen anyone enter. Leading toward nowhere. The echo of its steps grew louder. I could feel it watching me from every corner. I moved cautiously, checking the stacked crates, the shadowed alcoves, the empty offices along the side of the warehouse. Each time I paused, the figure mirrored me. Always just out of reach. I tried the side door again. Locked, windows barred. The building itself felt like a trap, stretching the halls impossibly long. Bending space subtly, I sat down on a crate, breathing heavily. The figure stood across from me, unmoving, patient, waiting. Then my handheld monitor blinked. The live camera feed showed the same scene, but wrong. Timestamps jumped. Footage from hours earlier and moments later played simultaneously. Me sitting on the crate, the figure across from me, watching, calculating. It raised a hand, pointed at me. Slow, deliberate. I scrambled to my feet. Tried doors, tried windows. Nothing budged. Finally, the lights flickered and went out. Total darkness. My flashlight died simultaneously. My eyes strained in the black. Then I heard breathing, not mine. Close, slow, controlled, deliberate. When the lights returned, the figure was gone. No footprints, no signs of entry, nothing. I bolted out of the warehouse and didn't stop running until I reached my truck. Engine started immediately. I didn't look back. During daylight, I returned to inspect the warehouse. No signs of entry, no footprints, no disturbance. It was as if nothing had been there. But at night, sometimes when I drive past the industrial complex, I swear I hear the echo of deliberate footsteps, patient and controlled, just out of sight. Always watching, always waiting. And I know that one day it might step into the light again.